You get me, got you. You get me, feel it, you. You get me, got you. You get me, feel it, you. You get me, got you.
Hello, welcome. We are talking politics and religion without killing each other. I am your host, Corey Nathan, and let's get right into it. I am so happy to be joined today by the CEO and investment advisor at Meza Wealth Management, my pal, Jorge Meza. George, how you doing, man? It's so good to see
Good.
you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Corey. How are you, man?
I am doing great. I'm looking forward to you telling us how we can all get rich by short selling crypto and all these great investment advice.
Oh yeah, insider trading. Oh, that's good.
Perfect. That's perfect. No, actually, our audience, if they've been listening, and I know they have been hearing about you now for almost, can you believe it's been almost 2 years that
That's
you've been
wild.
supporting this show?
That's
So
wild.
yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty cool, man. And it's so appreciated. Helps us keep the lights on. But it also is a testament to our friendship. You know, we've been pals. Um, the other thing I should say is that George and I are both past presidents of the Santa Cruz Valley Business Group. So we've gotten to know each other through the business group. But one of the ways I thought, the folks that are listening and watching could get to know you better is how I first got to know you. And it has a lot to do with why you do what you do. Um, uh, Not just you, but you and Teresa, your awesome wife. I got to know you when you guys were first going through it with Jesse. Would you mind telling us the story there and how Jesse's doing and all that good stuff?
Hey, thank you for asking. Yeah, she's doing a lot better. Her life story is pretty remarkable. Yeah, she was diagnosed in college during her college career with autoimmune hepatitis, which attacked her liver, and she ended up with cirrhosis of the liver. Um, and so it's an autoimmune. So her body had been attacking her liver all of her life. So um, we ended up. I'll make a long story short, but we ended up at UCLA for about a year and a half. That whole process was just it's amazing. She ended up getting another liver. She was a liver transplant survivor, and she's doing phenomenal now. But yeah, it was a very, very difficult part of our life. And yeah, you were there when it just first started. And heads up. I give it to you guys. I was fairly new in the group, and the love and support I got from all you guys, including you, Corey, was significant. Which is why we're big pals ever since. Right? It's
Now
been
I
pretty
forget
impressive.
what year did you came in 20 the last part of 2018, is that right?
18, the latter part of 18. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 2019 was the year that I was president. So
Yeah. Yeah.
welcoming you in, and you replaced a really good man. Michael Yawk was a good man. May he rest in peace. But yeah, so it was kind of an emotional time for all of us. But you came in and you were in the thick of it with. And by the way, Jessica is Jessica your youngest,
She's our youngest.
and
Our
she's
baby, no, no, she's 28 now, 28 or 29. I don't know. So
that's
somewhere in there.
crazy.
Somewhere in there.
And now she's keeping the trains running on time, man. She's the reason that whole office runs,
Oh,
basically.
without question. Without question. She'll be she's part of our team, right? But she's also getting her designations and licenses, and she already does and helps me out significantly here with the stuff that we do. So, and we can talk about that too, how that comes about and our philosophy of why and how we do business. So that's good.
I did
Very good.
notice that as I was going through your team, I noticed that Teresa, for example, she's a Series 6, like she got licensed as well.
Yeah, she got licensed, but she primarily does, and we don't do a lot of it. We primarily do investments and everything that surrounds that investment advisory work. But anything that happens with long-term care or life insurance, that kind of thing, she'll take care of that part of it. But it's a small part of our business. Her job is really to take care of our grandkids. That's her
That's a
job.
big job. That's awesome.
That's her job.
So,
Yeah.
so I wanted folks to get to know you better, but also your professional trajectory. If I remember correctly, you didn't come right out of the gate. What did you do before you got into finance?
Okay, so before this is 30 years ago now. I did several things. We owned And I can even go back further if you want to, but we own several businesses along the way. We own, if you remember, there was a company called the Stork News. You remember
Oh yeah,
that? I
yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
you remember that. We owned that. I was in construction for most of my life, my early part of my life, and I also worked for the gas company. So that's where I kind of started in the construction trades. I got recruited to go sell life insurance and mutual funds, but it was very, very limited, annuities and that kind of thing, way back when, and figured out I didn't want to do that part of it very long, and then I've just been slowly but surely morphing into what we are today, which is a very elegant boutique investment advisory firm. So it's really nice.
So your background, stork news is when babies were born, the stork showed up on the front lawn and announcing that was the business, right?
Correct. 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 Correct.
So
Correct.
a real
People still
niche,
had those bundles. I ended up on a bunch of home videos and whatnot. So yeah, it
so a
was
real
fun.
niche business, but that's something very different. The being in construction and all that. But I would imagine that your experience as a small business person informs you in a different way as an investment advisor when you're talking to people. I don't know, I get the sense that you relate to folks on the ground a little bit more than somebody who's got like a Harvard MBA or something like that. That's trading in all kinds of sophisticated. Not to say that you're not sophisticated. I'm just saying that you meet people where they're at because of your life experience. Is that fair to say?
Oh, without question. I would say then if you're going to go there, it starts before then. My dad immigrated here, and that whole struggle, and I'm sure that his story is not unique, but it was back in the days where he had to have an employer sign off, and an uncle that was already here sign off that he wasn't going to be a ward of the state. I was born in Costa Rica. My dad flew back, was able to bring me back here as a baby, and all the struggles that were surrounded with that. We landed over by Alvarado and Pico, if you kind of know where that area is, in Los Angeles, where pretty much all the immigrants landed in that area that were from that part of the world. And yeah, that's where we started, man. And then they moved us as kids to Arleta. If you know where that's at, that's not the most affluent area.
Yeah.
And the so yeah, it was all those struggles that surrounded that. I'm not. It was just a lot of love in our household, Corey, but not a lot of resources. So I've never forgotten that. In my investment world, started off. During construction, I had a guy that was at the time a friend of mine named Chris that kind of helped me out, showed me a little bit about investing, and that's how I got interested in it. And it just kind of began to take it from there. I mean, I was helped really early on by somebody that was willing to help me, and I never forgot that. So
Yeah.
to this day, we were able to help people, and we set it up on purpose where we're able to help people. Of course, I have clients in the millions and millions, but we also help people that are just starting off. Just today, I helped a client start an account, a college account for one of their grandkids. So
Yeah.
we're
Jackie Boy
set up
told
for that
me
as well.
Jackie Boy came home and
Yeah,
told me you guys
yeah,
are talking. I'm like, I
yeah.
don't know, man. Are you in George's league? He said, well, yeah, he's giving me the time of day. So
Hey, yeah. But yeah, that's part of it. I mean, and we've often said we're in the changing people life business, right? And that's part of that. I mean, I can't win it. Somebody helped me out early on, right? So, why not continue that philosophy, right? Because that is a philosophical question. It is. I
yeah.
mean, I have colleagues and friends of mine that I mean, they will take under a million or two or three or four, whatever, but we're just not that way. I mean, we're in Valencia here. It's upper middle Americaville, right? That's our clients.
All right, so take me back when you first got into it. So I got my Series 7, Series 63, which I guess when you Series 7, 6, you kind of also get your Series 6 because you can like it encompasses the same thing. But anyway, that all that aside, my life, and I'm sure you didn't. I don't know if you started out this way, but my life was basically 9 to 12, 1 to 5, 7 to 9, and I didn't have quotas money wise. I had quotas call wise. So I was required to make 35 calls an
Mm,
hour, And then we came in on Saturdays, 9 to 12 as well, 35 calls an hour. And
Yeah.
there were certain rules, like you don't leave messages on answering machines. You don't talk, people hate this. You don't talk to women. You only talk to men. It's like,
Yeah.
it was
It's yeah.
as caveman as it could get. But I'm guessing that you didn't start out that way. It was that you
It's
weren't in the boiler room like I was.
no, I was not. I'd never worked for one of those big wirehouses. Our whole idea was, work our what they termed a warm market, which are it's just family, friends, that kind of thing, and begin to grow from there. Which, by the way, we don't do any of that anymore, like that. Although everybody's now clients of mine, but that's not the way we train. But that's the way it was. I mean, so yeah, we were required to cold call and door knock and all the rest of that stuff that you did back in the day to try to get your business going. And yeah, I worked hard. I mean, there's no way around that. We live the fruits of that labor now, but working a 12, 16, 20-hour day was nothing that was rare.
Yeah.
So if you were, yeah, but that's, I think, everybody's. I mean, if you have any kind of success behind your belt that you built, uh, 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 and there's with very few exceptions, you had to work hard. It's not an easy road, but
Yeah.
it's. I read somewhere a long time ago. It says, "Don't ask me if it's easy. Ask me if it's worth it." So and yeah, so it's working hard is worth it. So it's yeah, we worked. I just mentioned we had three jobs at one point. I mean, it's what you had to do. So we just did what we had to do. Very
Yeah.
few people, somebody said, George, if you just work hard, you can make things happen. So it's okay. Very few people can outwork me. So,
So
so
over
yeah,
the years, you evolved professionally, and in terms of the advice that you offer, registered
sure.
investment advisor, I guess is the designation. Is
Yes.
that right?
Mhm.
So how is that different from someone who's a Series Six insurance salesman?
Well, as an RIA, we are, fiduciaries. We started off doing term insurance and mutual funds, and it just evolved from there. That's almost the very, very basics. And then, now we construct portfolios and we do analysis and we look on that return on invested capital and PE ratios and debt ratios and all the rest of the stuff to look for companies that we construct portfolios around. And my job is really to do guidance and oversight. And to help people to achieve a level of life and lifestyle and that they want to accomplish and to try to relieve the stress of their life on day to day, trying to figure out, do I pick Apple, Amazon, Nvidia? What do I do here? I mean, it's all you got to do is if you query what are the top five mutual funds, you're going to get 500 companies that tell you which ones are the top five, right? So it's just a lot of information out there. Most of it is you know just information. It's not a whole lot behind it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this show is talking politics and religion without killing each other. So I would imagine though that over the last 5, 10 years, the political climate has affected. It affects everything, but it affects how the kinds of questions and concerns I would imagine that you're getting from your clients. Is that fair to say?
Sure, I'll get that occasionally. I'll get that occasionally. Normally, most of the calls I get as a result of market volatility is how can we take advantage of it instead of let's panic and try to sell everything, right? Move everything to gold. Those are rare. But a lot of that has to do, Corey, with the conversations we have with clients on the front end and what to expect, and how we handle things, through interactions. And I do have constant contact with folks, so there's not a very few panic calls, but I do get those occasionally. I mean, but that's a fair question. Very fair.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I can attest to that. I mean, when we were first talking about opening up a portfolio, there was an extensive, you already knew me, but there was an extensive questionnaire to really
Mm,
zero in on, goals and expectations and how to
sure.
determine my level of risk. And, there was a really, it was more than just the standard, 10-question survey to figure out, what we should be buying. It was a thorough understanding of, I don't know, it was more like taking a personality test than, you know. So
Yeah,
it
by the
was,
way, you asked me one of the things that's different. Before I used to have a questionnaire, right? We don't do any of that anymore. This is really kind of like what we're doing now almost. It's really when we sit with folks, it is really a conversation. And it could go in any myriad of directions. It doesn't really matter. But in that conversation is when you get to know folks, deeper versus, 1 through 10 questions and figure out what box fits where, right? So
yeah,
it's different. It's just different.
yeah. All right. So in terms of some of the things that's happening right now that does affect the economy, one of the big areas of conversation that folks are concerned about are tariffs.
Hmm.
This administration is much more assertive and much more expansive in their use of tariffs. Setting aside the interplay between the executive branch and the legislative branch, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how the imposition of tariffs, the pullback from those, the plan to impose tariffs, how that's all, how you see that has affected the economy and the markets in particular.
Well, as far as tariffs go, I think some of the price increases have already happened, and they've happened in some consumer goods, tennis shoes and clothing and electronics, that kind of thing, have all increased a little bit. But most of the tariffs that we've seen, now this is so far, as I say this, we don't know ultimately how it's all going to play out. We are going to continue to adjust accordingly, however. But I mean, most of this for right now anyway has been absorbed. Some of the cost has been absorbed by the manufacturers, by the vendors, um, but not all of it. I mean, we've been dealing with fluctuations for a long, long time. I mean, if you just think of inflation, Corey, we've been dealing with high inflations really since COVID. Will we see price increases? I think so in certain segments. But then after we see that, then it's going to normalize and we're going to get back to normal where prices are going to already be fixed. The tariffs are already going to be in place. Then we have to adjust accordingly and then, continue to move forward. So, I think there was a lot of angst about it, and frankly, rightly so. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. What I am saying, it hasn't played out like a lot of people thought. The economy's doing good. Inflation's at bay. Unemployment is, I think that what's at 4% or something, 4.1%, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of factors that are coming into play here. Um, it's so the tariff part of it, we're going to have to see that play out further and then just adjust accordingly. I mean, it's the markets are rallying, Corey. So the market's a pretty good indicator of how the economy is. Um, so I think some of the tariffs have already been factored in to answer your question, and it's going to be a factor, but a factor of many.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm for or against the tariffs. Ultimately, the tariff, a lot of it is a tax, but a lot of this has also been absorbed and negotiated. I mean, you remember at the very beginning when the administration was saying we're tariffing everybody and anybody. We're gonna, and then everybody was freaking out for a little while, and a lot of this has now been negotiated, brought down, and seems to have subsided at least somewhat. But yeah, we don't know how that's ultimately going to play out. We do know that we are going to continue to adjust accordingly. AI is another factor, Corey. I mean, companies are spending a pile of money in AI, and I think that's going to also increase productivity as we move forward in this. So yeah, there's several things at play. It's inflation, it's the tariffs, it's AI. it's jobs market, it's all of that, interest rates, which I don't think are, in spite of what you're hearing, I don't think those are going anywhere anytime soon either. I mean, if all these things are going as pretty good, why would you lower interest rates? So that's just, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I want to get into all that AI, interest rates, but I want to back up for a second. Going back to tariffs, so we did see market gyrations at the very beginning, but it
Mhm.
does seem like the number one, a lot of the individual prices in the market overall has come back. And to your point, it's hitting all-time highs, so it's progressing.
Sure.
So it seems a lot of companies and individual stocks have factored in, the volatility isn't necessarily, from what I'm seeing, in the prices themselves so much as they factored in the volatility of, how big the tariffs are going to be, how many tariffs are going to be imposed, where the tariffs are going to be imposed. They've
Mhm.
kind of factored in the tariff volatility, so that's why we're not seeing the market volatility as much.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And there's been so much talk about, and I think, and as weird as this might sound, I think the pendulum, as far as worry, went so far the other way. When it didn't happen, it was almost a relief. It's like, oh my God, the sky really didn't fall, and I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah,
And
what I've been surprised about is in terms of inflation, the first quarter, second quarter of this year. Now the second quarter numbers are out. I think CPI is at about 2.7%, and the goal is to be around 2%. So it's within the
yeah, within
range of what
tolerance.
decent
Yeah.
decent inflation numbers would
Hmm.
be. It's a little bit higher, but it's not at 9% like it was in what was that, 2021.
Yeah. Correct.
So
Correct. Correct.
those
Correct.
numbers. Now, do you think it's because we just haven't seen we haven't seen the increase in consumer prices factored in to what we're seeing so far, or is that just we're going to see steady, relatively healthy inflation within relatively healthy ranges going forward?
That seems to be the case, Corey. That seems to be where I think we're going to see we're going to, obviously, as tariffs play out, and then you have normal inflation. I think we'll see that play out. If let's assume that the worst happens and the tariff does become a larger factor, the tariffs do become a larger factor. Well, then by the time the following year, which would be 2026, 2027, stabilize, then that inflation or that tariff cost is already factored into the following year, and it's just going to be part of, it's just not going to be up at 9% like you're talking about. I think it's just going to be a factor of many.
Yeah.
So yeah, to your point, I don't think we're going to see a large increase, although depending on the areas, and we don't know where this is all going to play out yet. I think we are going to see, obviously, we are going to see increases because it's going to cost companies more to manufacture, right? So yeah, I think we're going to, or for us to buy the goods. So yeah, I think we will see some of that. I do, but we just really don't know where. I mean, it's a large swath of tariffs. Where we're going to see it manifest for the consumer is the question mark. I mean, we've
Yeah.
already seen some of it, like I said, in consumer goods, we've already seen some of it play out.
Now, the reasoning behind the strategy imposing tariffs, one of the big reasons is to I don't know what the right word is for it, but like repatriate manufacturing. So bring a lot of manufacturing back here domestically. Have we seen, number one, have we begun to see the increase in employment and more production manufacturing wise here domestically? And two, if so, does that create investment opportunities, or or are they going to, is manufacturing going to come back domestically here in the States, all while huge investments are being made into AI? So we're not going to see the employment numbers. There's so many complicated related
Yeah, there
factors
is,
here.
man. There is. I think some of the factories that are coming into line, I mean, some of that takes years for
Yeah.
that to, you know, so all the everything that's touted all the time about Apple's investing $500 billion in different factories and all that kind of stuff that you hear over time about semi. I mean, those factories take a long time. You will see employment in the construction and concrete and those kinds of things while they're building these things, but a lot of that it's going to take a long time to come to fruition. And I think on top of that, AI is going to come into play. So some of that stuff, Um, AI is going to, who knows where that's going to, take us. It is going to affect everything. And, I mean, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, Google, they're all investing in Meta. They're all investing heavily in AI. So where that's going to take us is boy, I'm excited to see it, but I could see productivity increasing as a result of AI in manufacturing. And that's where I see those two things, kind of coming in line. I don't know, if we're gonna, how much, factories are gonna make socks or something.
Yeah.
There's gonna be things that are probably gonna be made overseas someplace, right? I mean, it's not all gonna come back, I don't think, but I think certainly, getting some manufacturing back here for sure is going to come into play. But I don't think all the manufacturing to come back. That's I just don't see that. I just don't see that. But that doesn't mean a lot of it won't. I mean, they're already, some of the infrastructure stuff they're bringing back. So
I'm
I mean,
trying
and I
to
think and I think we should bring some of that back.
I'm trying to imagine how the economy is going to be defined, for 100, basically 100, 150 years, it was an industrial driven economy, an industrial
Mm-hmm.
world, industrial revolution, right? And then we were in basically a knowledge based economy, with the boom of the computer chip and technology. It was a knowledge driven economy. With AI, I'm trying to imagine what is ultimately going to drive the economy, because AI isn't necessarily going to replace human beings unless you're thinking of, you know, I don't know. I think a lot of times the way to think about these moments in history, these transitions, it's kind of like back when trains, the companies that thought of themselves strictly as train companies uh, are were no went out of business, but the companies that thought of themselves as shipping or transportation oriented
Sure.
companies are still around. So they just the blue ocean strategy of thinking. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
think, with the emergence of AI, what kind of transition we're in right now, and how individuals, whether it's just individuals in the workforce, or investors, how we can think of the blue ocean way of thinking about this transition with AI, the AI revolution.
Yeah, I think AI, I think it's going to affect everything, but there's things that are areas in the economy that need humans. If you need somebody to pull wire, that typically takes a human, right? If you need somebody to build a widget, you still need the plumber guy. You still need so. By the way, all those trades. I mean, you could have a wonderful life in those. I mean, I have clients of mine that are plumbers, electricians, elevator mechanics. Those guys do very well for themselves. So that's here, and I think, I mean, it's that
Yeah,
those are
looking at
areas
the new cars that our buddy Dave with David Electric is driving, that dude's picking up some pretty fancy wheels, man.
yeah.
So as an
There's a guy,
electrician, but yeah,
putting light switches and fans in, right? And he's making a bundle, but yeah, he's doing good. But how I say that, I'm only teasing. I mean, he runs a
yeah.
firm and he runs a company. He's got trucks all over the place, right? So yeah, when he runs the company, it just happens to be an electrician. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, part of that is for obvious reasons. We have a window cleaning company. You can't outsource window cleaning.
yeah,
Now, we can, as a window cleaning company, you can incorporate technology. We're not too far away from a day when, but for the safety of our employees, we can make our employees more productive. So, for example, we're not too far away from drones being incorporated into our work so that our guys can keep their feet on the ground.
correct.
We still need people to
Yep.
operate the drones, but they could, instead of having to climb to it. Now I hope our insurance companies aren't listening to this, but no,
Yeah.
instead not our company, because we've invested in water fed poles and other kinds of technology, and eventually we'll have the drones so that our guys can still clean the windows, whether it's residential or commercial. But it's a lot safer when they're doing it from the ground, as opposed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
however many feet in the air on ladders and
Correct.
scaffoldings and stuff like that.
Well, today your guys, or C Spot, those guys came out and did the solar panels. So you had
Oh yeah.
can't remember his name, but he was out there doing that today.
Yeah, that's
So yeah,
probably Ralph. And yeah, but yeah, to your point, I mean, that's definitely one of the services that, as opposed to the guys having to access the roof, they can access it from the ground.
sure.
But the technology is just about getting there where the drones themselves can stay up long enough to perform the cleaning,
Nice.
and then incorporate some camera work so that we could see exactly what we're doing, as well as handle the weight load of the water that would need to run through it.
Sure.
So there's some factors that are involved, but the technology's getting there, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, so if you look at what happened in the Industrial Revolution, right? I mean, you mentioned trains. I mean, the advent of trains, and I mean, that's what opened up the West Coast is you
yeah,
were able to ship cargo from one place to the other, and you had people that were visionary enough to to see that and to take advantage of it, and yeah, they gobbled up some of the smaller, you know, railway companies that just never had that vision. Of course, it was a battle with these big icons too, and I don't think they liked each other very much back in those days. But yeah, it's technology. I mean, we're living it. We're living through this transition, and we just have to be nimble enough, Corey, and be aware enough to adjust accordingly and move to where those assets are moving towards. And we can't, I mean, if you think of what the computer, do you remember the whole discussion about the internet? Oh my God, that was going to change out microwaves. It was going to just ruin cooking, right?
yeah.
Everything just evolved. The internet and computers and all the rest of what we do, even what we do, we've been using AI for years. It just wasn't called AI what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the software that we use is really sophisticated. And so yeah, we have to keep up with that stuff, because if we don't, holy cow, it's how can we make choices and decisions if we don't have that. Yeah, we just have to be nimble enough and be able to adjust accordingly, or we're gonna stay back in the horse and buggy, right? We're not. It's life. We're human. Life is going to
That's right.
continue to evolve, right? It's going to continue to
Yeah.
evolve.
I try to forget a lot of the lessons I learned in my time in the on Wall Street. But one of the lessons I learned, there was my not my manager, but my manager's manager. So he was running the whole floor, a guy named Kirby. And a lot of guys just didn't understand some of the stocks that we were doing IPOs for. And one of his expressions was, I forgot exactly how he put it, but he said, "You guys see things to be afraid of or be concerned about, be worried about. What I see is opportunity." The way he said it was opportunity. You see something to be afraid of. I see opportunity. So,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
remember Kirby.
exactly.
He's a character. If I ever write a play about those days, that's Kirby's going to be one of the characters in it. Now,
Yeah,
speaking of things to be a little nervous about, one administration after another has tried to offer benefits and spent like crazy without looking at ways to balance the budget. And this latest one,
yeah,
this latest one that was signed on July 4th, certainly does that. Every projection is showing several trillion dollars that's going to be added to the deficit. Is number one, is that something to in all seriousness to be concerned about? And if so, how should individuals prepare or plan for growing deficits to the degree that we're likely to see?
Oh, you mean how we keep printing money? Is that what you're referring
Yeah.
to?
How does that work? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the question is your real question is when are the chickens going to come home to roost?
Hmm.
And the answer to that is I don't know. I don't know. I know some of it. The theory is some of that's going to be offset by tariffs, right? Then another part of that along those same lines is kind of what we've been talking about. Some of it, some of the deficit will be decreased by the increase in productivity, and since companies now have to pay lower taxes, that they're going to invest in their infrastructure, and that should increase business, should increase taxes as a revenue. We have been for some time now just utilizing other assets. But we're still invested, man. I got to tell you, it's we're going to continue to take advantage of the market as things continue to progress and move forward. Um, and however, we do utilize other areas that are more traditional, and especially now. I mean, you think about gold mining companies, even crypto. It's some of those things we've utilized to small degrees. Because if you invested in any one of those, it has performed as well as the market. It's just been part of, gold has done super well during this period of time, but so has all the other companies I just rattled off earlier today, right? So so yeah, there is opportunity.
You're going to be
There is
hearing that now.
opportunity that we're going to take advantage of, and but at any given point, if we feel that things are too stressed, or if we see that things are not going well, we're going to pull back or take profits or make adjustments. And we do what's called guidance and oversight, and we constantly keep an eye on holdings and make adjustments. And I mean that's what we do. And yeah, so so yeah, when those chickens are going to come home to roost, Corey, we have no idea. We just got to be ready to adjust when they do, and how that's gonna look. I have no idea. I have
So
no idea. It's the government just keeps printing money. Ironically, that continues to help uh, business. If there's more money to give away, businesses can invest more, and people have more money in their pocket. Um, but it increases the deficit, and companies do better, and so do people.
yeah.
So who knows? And typically the markets are, like I said earlier, the markets are pretty good indicators of what we're seeing into the future. And right now, all other than like healthcare or something that's not been doing all that great. I mean, everything else is looking really, really good. You said it earlier, the Nasdaq's, and the S&P, all those are knocking on all-time highs, right? So yeah. So during this period of time, anyway, we're going to be continuing to invest. Um, I'll be it, knowing that at some point we may need to make adjustments. But God, Corey, who knows when that's going to be? I don't know. I don't know. What are you hearing? What do you? I mean, what are you seeing? I mean, you speak to a lot of people in politics. I mean, that's an insight you might even have better than I do.
Well, now it seems to be more Democrats. It's partly because of the administration that's in charge, but it seems
Yeah.
to be more Democrats are singing that song about concerns about ballooning deficits. But yeah, there are still some Republicans, even under this administration, that are sounding the alarm. They've a lot of them have been that way since at least
Mm-hmm.
2010. Since
Mm-hmm.
the Tea Party wave.
Yeah.
But when you're spending in your annual budget, when you're spending more on servicing the debt than you are on military, for example, those are red flags. Maybe the red flags because we just haven't been here before, and we'll find some sort of an equilibrium. But man, that's talk about beyond my pay grade. I just don't know what I do know though. And it's just another big question mark for me, and uncertainty. Talk about printing money, is the Fed has worked well, at least since the late 40s, going into the early 1950s, as an independent body that is independent from politics. And the few times that it seems to have been influenced by politics, it didn't have, like when Nixon tried to influence, it wasn't Volcker yet. I forget who it was right before Volcker. Volcker is the one during Reagan that made some tough decisions that sent the economy into a necessary recession in the first Reagan administration. But Nixon tried to lower interest rates to boost, artificially give a little boost to the economy leading into the 72 election, which led ultimately to stagflation throughout the rest of the 70s. So the couple of times over the last 80 years that we've seen too much influence on the part of politics or individual politicians on the Fed, it hasn't gone well. So I guess, I don't know. All that to say, I am concerned. So far, I've seen independent Fed chairs, which is a good thing, making tough decisions. One of the reasons I think we did finally rein in inflation, come out of the COVID, what could have been a depression coming out of COVID, um, is because of an independent Fed. But I don't know. I'm worried, if Trump does fire Powell, or next spring when his term is up, and he puts a supplicant in as opposed to a real, economist like Bernanke, like who was it before Powell, the lady who was Treasury under Biden. They've been independent and have steered the ship for the most part. Listen, the economy hasn't been perfect, but I think they've done a pretty good job through some pretty
Correct.
rough waters. So both Republican appointed as well as Democratic appointed.
Yeah, let's hope that the Fed remain. It's for now. It seems like it's the Fed is
Janet
Powell.
Yellen. That's the name
Yeah,
of.
Janet Yellen. That Powell is acting independent, but I can't remember the name they were kicking around. I looked the guy up. That
Cash Patel. They're going to put Cash Patel. Who doesn't know it? But because he
yeah.
wrote a good children's book about Superman Donald Trump, that he's going to be the head of the Fed.
Don't even go there. So, so
No, Sean
I can't
Hannity.
remember.
Hannity's
Oh
going to
yeah,
be the
that's
head of
right.
the
Yeah,
Fed.
yeah. Pick any of those guys. Yeah, right. So but I think it should remain independent. But I can't remember they were talking about picking somebody that was also a very much a deficit hawk. So if he's looking, and I can't remember the name of the guy that was being kicked, the name that was being kicked around, but I did Google him, and he looked very conservative when it came to lowering interest rates. So so who knows? Let's just hope it remains. We need it to remain independent.
Yeah.
We need three different branches of government, right? So it's yeah, we have to continue to do that.
All right. So we're definitely
Yeah.
on the same page. Independent Fed. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I
Yeah.
have some fun questions.
Yes, sir.
This is called the TP&R question. And that is, what do you think each of us can do to be able to share space with, have better conversations with, perhaps even nurture relationships with people across our differences? And you and I have been in these conversations, by the way.
Sure.
At board meetings, we hung out and had a couple of whiskeys afterwards, had some tough conversations. So, but how do we do this better with people who have different backgrounds and beliefs? And we were talking about it before. Who people who get their news from different sources than we do. Basically,
Yeah.
how do we do better at talking politics and religion without killing each other, or is it even possible?
Oh no, I totally think it's possible. I think there is a now I ride in the middle, you know this, but I think there's very people are starving for this. I really do. I think people, so long as you're not too stringent on one side or the other, most people are in the middle. Some people you just can't talk to. So it's like you could try to engage in a conversation, but most people are, I think, are like you and I. I mean, they would welcome the conversation, and I think it's just being respectful. Corey, if somebody respects, if you're a respectful person and somebody has a difference of opinion and they're very strong about it, well, then let them be strong about it. I mean, what do you, unless you're going to try to convince them? We have very, very dear friends of ours that are much more, I want to say left, like I guess left leaning is a good term, but they live a very conservative life. But their political, I just wish they would vote the way they live. Right? That's the irony of that. But they remain very, very dear friends of ours, and we differ in some, not all, in some respects politically. So we just don't engage as much, and if it gets to the point where it's going to become heated, then you just go, hey, you know what? Let's talk about something else. This is but that doesn't mean you can't have a dialogue.
Right.
I think people would welcome the engagement. I think what you're seeing, however, and if you look at the news, it's really you're going to get one side or the other of that. But I think most people they're going to look at the middle. And I think they wouldn't like to engage in looking at other people's points of view, and you just got to do it respectful. And I think that's probably the biggest part of it. You just gotta be okay and be mindful, and hey, the other person's entitled to their opinion. That doesn't make them a bad person. That's just how their views are.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's and you don't want to insult. I mean, how many times have you've probably had it in your show or something where people are insulting each other? You don't want to do that. You gotta have more class than that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Constantly learning, man. I've been doing a show for about 5 years. Yeah, almost 5 years. And yeah, I'm doing it because I still have so much to learn. I
Yeah.
still find myself in conversations where my beak is tweaked or I tweak somebody else's beak or something. So
Sure.
there's still so much to learn, so much work to do. So yeah, but
Yeah,
it's worth it.
you're hearing all this talk about the what's his name, the mayor of New York that the Democratic Party voted in, how bad the guy is and all. But on I don't agree with his views either. But boy, you got to commend him for tapping into a part of the market or being able to move himself forward where it seems like nobody else has.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's so how do you utilize the skills that this guy had to help that party move forward? There's got to be some learning that could happen to that, but instead of just you know uh, 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 you know having such a strong opinion, whether you agree with him or not, could some of that be learned from and made aware, right?
Yeah.
And
You know,
improve.
it's
We want two strong, good parties, if not more. We want at
yeah.
least two good, strong parties, not not just one,
It's
right?
definitely worth looking at. He's to your point, he's tapped into something. Mamdani has tapped into something in New York that if you look at other politicians, what are their similarities? Because if you look at Ruben Gallego, for example, who won the Senate seat in Arizona, right next door to us, he is a very, very different kind of a politician. You would consider him, if anything, right of center. Especially when it comes to immigration policy.
Mhm.
But um, but he tapped into something similar. I think what they were hearing was the needs of working class voters, for example. So affordability issues, uh,
Mhm.
job opportunities, something very basic like the real kitchen table issues, not what Fox
Sure.
News or MSNBC is telling you, but real kitchen table issues. Hey, can we get a job? Can we pay, for groceries? Can we meet the rent? That sort of thing. Now, their solutions, and some Republican elected officials as well, their solutions obviously look very, very different. But the questions that they're asking and the questions that they're raising and the solutions that they're proposing to those problems, that's what they share in common, is that they're tapping into what
Mhm.
everyday voters are really concerned about.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, so do you have any questions for me?
Um, no, dude, let's go grab a little something to drink one day in the near future.
I did
No,
warn you that I
everything's
was going to
good.
give
I
you
mean,
that
I
opportunity.
think shows like this, how to talk politics and religion without killing each other is I think I think there's more need for stuff like this, venues like this, or podcasts like this, or news channels like this, or I think people would enjoy that, and I would venture to guess people are going to be very receptive. They don't have to. You don't have to 100% agree with everything, to get along and do well and all that. So
Well, we
anyway.
just we just passed 300 episodes, so I'd like to think there's something there. There's something worth talking about.
Very good.
So, yeah, I like to think there's something there. So, before we go, how can folks follow you, find more information about Meza Wealth Management and all the great work that you're doing?
Well, I really don't have. I'm very don't have a big social media presence. I do have a website, mezawealth.com. There is. I mean, you can always call my office, center appointment, all that kind of stuff. But just look up mezawealth.com. There, I don't engage much in social media. Um, it's just not what I do. That doesn't mean it's not warranted. I probably should do more of that, but I don't. So it's really just look at our website. If there's something that piqued your interest about this, call me. I'll be happy to have a conversation. And that's it. There's no secret to this guy, man. We're just fundamental and basic and open and honest and
It's
all that
good
kind of neat
stuff.
stuff.
So, we definitely covered a lot. But before we go, is there anything important we haven't discussed that you'd like to add before we go?
I Yeah, I would say that just be cautious of all the noise. I think there's such a divisiveness in our country because people are engaging and looking at things that are all one-sided, tilted one way or the other. And you could see the divisiveness. I mean, we have to find ourselves as a country, I think, in a better place. And from my standpoint, from an economic standpoint, my job is to put portfolios together and construct them, and I believe we're doing that in that fashion, helping people, all that kind of thing. But it's not just that. It's not just about the money. It's not just about whether you construct a portfolio. So it's really ultimately at the end of the day is having peace with yourself, having peace in the country, and having the country move forward. So yeah, if I were to give any kind of overall high level thought is that there's enough people like you and I on this planet in the United States that engage and want to have a conversation, and I just don't think they hear enough from people like you and I. So but they're out there. There's a bunch. That's the majority. You just hear the fringes. You don't hear the middle.
So, so the sky is not falling. That's what I'm hearing you say.
The sky is not falling. Matter of fact, we got to take advantage of the
That's good
trajectory
news.
that we're moving. Yeah, there's an old saying that says the trend is my friend, and it's certainly trending up.
The trend is my friend. All right, George, I'm so glad that we got to hang out together. And yeah, to your point, we'll make sure to do this in person in the coming days. Man,
Very good.
I'm grateful for you coming on and sharing your
Likewise.
experiences and your wisdom. And yeah, we're all better for it. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, man. This was fun.
You
Thanks.
bet. You bet. And
All right.
as always, if you dig what we're doing here, remember to follow this show, write that review. Remember to write, just like not just leave the stars, but write the review. And now you can watch these conversations on YouTube. It's youtube.com/at politics and religion. It's youtube.com/at politics and religion. And I am at Corey S. Nathan at Corey, S as in Sam, Nathan, at Corey S. Nathan on all the socials, as well as Substack. Now, go talk some politics and religion with gentleness and respect, and have a great week.